If you're backpacking on a budget, this might be the tent for you. Hey guys, it's Epic. I hope you guys had a great holiday season. It is now 2023. This is our first video of the year, and I want to do a post-trail review of the Lanshan 1 Pro. I told you guys in a previous video that I was going to go ahead and do a post-trail review of this after I had a chance to really take it out in the field and break it in. And we're just going to go over some of my thoughts about this tent. First of all, I'm going to get into the specs so you can see what the factory has to say about it. The fly is made of a 20D sil nylon fabric and has a water rating of 2,000 millimeters. The bathtub floor is made of a 20D PU nylon with a water rating of 6,000 millimeters. The bathtub floor height measures in at 11 centimeters or 4.33 inches. The tent also features YKK zippers, which I'm really excited about because the previous versions did not have that. The tent comes in at a weight of 690 grams or 1.52 pounds. This is only the tent. It does not include the tent stakes or the bag that it comes in. Total trail weight for this comes in at 840 grams or 1.85 pounds. The tent length is 270 centimeters or 8 foot 10 inches. The width comes in at 110 centimeters or 3 foot 7 inches. And the height is 125 centimeters or 4 foot 1 inch. The tent requires 6 stakes minimum to pitch it and 1 trekking pole. There are also 3 extra guy lines on the tent that allow you the option to make it more sturdy in high winds. The claimed pack dimensions are 34 centimeters by 15 centimeters or 13.4 inches by 5.9 inches. All right, let's talk a little bit about my experiences with this tent. A little backstory first. I did buy the original Lanshan 1 when it came out, and I set that up in my backyard, and I climbed inside it and immediately knew it wasn't the tent for me. It turned out that it was too short, and the mesh on both the head end and the foot end were touching me, which is something you never want. 1, it's going to be irritating when you're laying there trying to sleep, and 2, the mesh is the barrier between you and the condensation that builds up on the rainfly inside of the tent. And it'll do that job unless it's touching you. If it's touching you, then the moisture will actually transfer and it'll land on your skin, it'll land on your bag, so you never want that. I ended up giving that to my sister and going for the Lanshan 2, which means I do have experience with the quality of Lanshan products. The Lanshan 2 has done a really good job for us. I've actually taken it out in all kinds of conditions, including a really wet, rainy season here that we just did last year hiking on the Oregon coast. So I never really thought I was going to buy a Lanshan 1 again, but when I looked at the specs of the Pro, I went, huh, it's a little bigger. Maybe I'll give this a try. And so that's what we did. So let's talk about a couple of details of the tent. The first thing you should know about this tent is it does not come seam sealed. You are actually going to have to do that yourself. They do provide a little dental syringe that allows you to get into the seams and really apply it properly. You are going to have to buy your own seam sealer. GearAid makes a fantastic product. Make sure that you get the one that's 4 sil nylon, not the one that says plus WP, because that one's not going to work. It's just going to peel off of your tent. The second thing I want to go over with you guys is the fact that this is a single-walled tent, not a double-walled tent. And what that means is that there's no inner net mesh that's protecting you from the condensation that builds up on the rainfly. There is a forward mesh wall that is connected to the bathtub floor and sewn directly to the rainfly in front, but that's it. If you're a beginner and you don't have experience using a single-walled tent, you might want to consider something else for your first tent. But if the condensation issues of a single-walled tent don't bother you, this might be the tent for you. I would recommend making sure that you bring some sort of a large bandana or a ShamWow or some sort of absorbent cloth so you can periodically wipe the condensation off of the inside of the tent as you're sleeping in it. On a really wet, foggy, misty day in the Enchanted Valley, I did experience, despite my best efforts, some condensation that ended up on the outside of my synthetic quilt. And this was with me using a shemagh to wipe it down periodically. I definitely recommend moving your pad as forward toward the mesh wall as possible so the least amount of contact is made with the back wall. I will also say I did not like the original stakes that came with this tent. They're trying to mimic the MSR Groundhog Minis. I don't think they do a very good job of doing that. And so I would actually recommend replacing them with some actual MSR Groundhog Minis. It's probably the best stake you're going to get for a tent like this. I also liked how the roll-up mechanism worked on this one as opposed to the previous model. The last one had separate toggles for each one of these doors. Now there's one toggle, and each door has its own piece of elastic that goes over the same toggle, making it a lot more nice and neat when you roll up the doors. As I said, this tent pitches with a single trekking pole, and the recommended height is 120 centimeters. There's a single pocket to store all your belongings in the tent. It's only on one side, which means I would consider this the head end. All right, guys, here's the inside, and this is what it's like to sleep on it with the pad. This is actually a Thermarest X-Therm pad. I believe it has a loft of 2.5 inches. I'm 6 feet, and as you can see, I have to point my toe in order to be touching that mesh or to be touching that rain fly. And up above me, I've taken my hat off. I've got plenty of clearance right here. So even if I'm turning and rolling, I do a pretty good job. I haven't had any water actually get on my face. If you are claustrophobic or you do not like tight tent spaces, this may not be the one for you. There's not a whole lot of room for anything in here besides you. I put most of my gear in the vestibule to make sure that I had enough room in here. It is a tiny tent. It's big enough for one person to sleep in, I think, pretty comfortably. If you're shorter than 6 feet, I think you have plenty of room. But if you want room to spread out, you might consider getting an ultralight 2-person tent. All in all, guys, this is a great little tent, especially if you're backpacking on a budget at a price point of about 180 bucks and a tent that weighs 690 grams. That's a pretty good value. Most of your other tents that come anywhere close to that weight are going to be much more expensive. Well, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this post-trail review of the Lanshan 1 Pro. If you like what we do, be sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that bell notification so you know when we make future content. You can also check us out on Instagram, support us on Patreon, and our new website is coming out soon. Now get off your butts. Go play outside.